There are a lot of things that make a tournament what it is. And I always talk about it from the TV side of things, where literally you see what's going on live television, and it's the dog bringing the stick back to shore when you're playing fetch with it. You know, you throw the stick as far as you can. The golden retriever goes in, gets the stick. You see the dog huffing and puffing. That's the calm part of everything above the water line. That's live TV. That's what you see. But you don't see the dog paddling at 900 miles an hour below the water line. That's everything that it takes to get that picture of the dog going back to shore to be as calm as it is. There are a lot of different things that make a presentation in a market, especially for a big event like this, what it is. And part of that comes from our friends at SCAD. We've covered them in soccer on the field, and now we get to talk about them off the field. And we get to bring in our friend Sam Eckersley, Associate Chair of Graphic Design on the SCAD project that you might be seeing around town. So, Sam, how are you? Welcome to the morning show.
It's a pleasure to be here, John. Thanks for having me.
Was that lead up anywhere close? Was I in the ballpark? Was I in the batting?
Any opportunity to talk about dogs and running around behind stages, I think, is great. Yeah, that sounds like a great setup.
Okay. This was one of the things that we kind of sit there and just kind of think that, yeah, I'm going from my starting point on my walk or my drive or my Uber or whatever and going to a venue. It's like, yeah, I'm just doing, oh, that looks kind of nice. That looks kind of cool. That looks kind of pretty. You know, and this is where we get to talk about those cool and nice and pretty things. And you had over 200 students and folks that were associated with this project make all of the signage and the walk-ups happen. Is that right?
That's right. We have been working with the host committee for Atlanta World Cup since 2014. They reached out to us, and they've been, prepping for this for years and years once Atlanta got selected. So they reached out. We were looking for opportunities to help them. Every city that's hosting has to work within what they call the last mile. So that's a FIFA term, and it's really the area around the stadium, around FanFest, for us, around MARTA and the hotels, and really developing a system to help the 300,000 plus visitors who many have never been to Atlanta before, to navigate the area, to be clear, to sort of enjoy themselves and not worry about how to get to different places. So we've been working with the host committee now for I guess it's about 25 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, like you said, over 200 students have gotten involved, from graphic design to illustration to photography, user experience, advertising, motion graphics, film. They all got to be involved in one way or another. It's been an amazing opportunity.
And you've got to do this in a way where, once again, those of us who are local, it's like, yeah, we're going to go over to Mercedes-Benz. We're going to catch a game. And you've got to take into account, the locals kind of know where they're going. You've got to, and if you're a local, you've got to put it in verbiage and in presentation that those outside the city can understand. And those of us kind of sit there that are in the city kind of sit there and go, yeah, okay, yeah, I know that. But you've got to think about it as an outsider to help folks through. What was that process like to make sure that you weren't too inside baseball and coming up with terminology and stuff?
Well, and I think that even worked on two sides. So knowing that Atlanta, they bring in amazing people with sporting events all the time. But I think the FIFA World Cup is, of course, many, many stages higher than we've had for many years in Atlanta. So we knew the numbers. We knew at least the countries that were going to be involved at the first stage. So we could start to anticipate those types of people who are going to make it here. How we can celebrate Atlanta. I think that was a really important aspect to the host committee, in not just helping all these guests come and enjoy their experience, but also take with them that Atlanta is a world-class city and we have so much to offer. So it was multiple layers in what we were trying to accomplish, not only giving them a good time, but also letting them engage and get to know Atlanta in a personal way.
Any clue how many man hours you might have put into this project?
Man hours, man. Well, I'll tell you, having classes, you get a lot of students. So as we said, we had over 200 students, both in Savannah and Atlanta, get involved in this. If I need your dog to help me calculate the number of hours. I know for me, I put in a lot of hours. So you multiply that by 200, it adds up. And of course, it's a learning opportunity for our students. So we're doing lots of discovery, lots of exploration, and trying different things. We really want to be prepared before we show anything to the host committee. and get their approval. So the hours are up there, but it's been worth every penny. It's been great.
The rowdy man's asleep. He can't quite help you at the moment. He's guarding the planet from down here.
Well done. We need that.
Yeah, absolutely true. Sam Eckersley, Associate Chair of Graphic Design from SCAD, talking about all the stuff that we might take for granted that is needed and is a necessity for those coming from outside that want to go sample the World Cup. How many different meetings / iterations of ideas and color palettes and designs? I mean, how many meetings were there in hermetically sealed conference rooms or Zooms where you're at the glass table and you got the big monitor at the end and everybody's going through a Teams meeting? I mean, how many different ideas, or did you hit it on the first one, sit there and go, oh, that design looks great, keep it? How many, what'd you do here?
I'll tell you, like any project that we do, you start as big of a scope as you can, right? So you understand what the host committee is looking for, their big ambitions, their goals, before the students are even involved, right? We want to understand the scope of what they're trying to accomplish. And from the get-go, it was two simple things. It was helping guests navigate and have clarity, being able to get around in an enjoyable way, but then also to engage them. So we started actually with two separate classes. One was user experience and the wayfinding, and the other was more of a campaign, like how to promote Atlanta. So that was I guess that was 10 weeks for each class. We brought those classes together, and then we had a separate 10-week class where we really kind of started to produce the whole thing. So we met with them once a week. They'd often come in on campus. We'd get to explore things because it was physical items. It really benefited by seeing these things in real time and in location. So lots of meetings, but they've been an amazing group to work with, highly respectful to our students. You know, they treat everybody like professionals and help guide us based on information that they only have. They had access to FIFA, and so we had access to them. So it's a constantly moving target. Based on lots of different things, based on city needs, based on the MARTA's requirements, based on changing the stadium from Mercedes-Benz to Atlanta Stadium. All these things we're sort of constantly shifting and ebbing and flowing. So talk about a great experience for students, let alone me, just kind of understanding how big of an impact this thing can have.
How do you keep from being a little kid in all of this, sitting there going, man, we're doing something for the World Cup? I guess you get to do that now that the World Cup is going, but how difficult is it to be locked in on all of this, not get locked into the cool factor? And it's like, man, we got a job to do. We'll have fun later, but it's fun now, but we gotta focus here. How hard was that?
You know what? I'll actually spin that. I think it's all about having fun while you do it. Of course, you got to be professional. I think we teach our students that from the get-go. So we've got that down. You give yourself lots of time to prepare, to make sure that you're approaching things professionally, that things are ready, that technology is ready, all that kind of thing. But we do that with everything. For this, have fun. I mean, why not? This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. So there's having fun and being immature about it. You can do that when the camera's off. But I mean, they want our students, because they're young and they're engaged and they're going to have fun with this. This is a lifetime opportunity for them. So I'm no different, right? I get to be in that classroom and work with them and, give them feedback and steer them in the direction that they need to go. But I'm having fun too. Why not? I mean, this is amazing.
When you're seeing the students that are integrating into this project, and you get to see them enjoying themselves, as you say, and then seeing the output and of the creative process, what's it like for you as a professor and a leader and a mentor to see all of these students come up with these ideas and then finally have it go from farm to table and see what it's like out there in the city?
We do a lot of work with live clients. It's one of the things that I think we have a lot of pride with. It's something called SCADpro, which is bringing in live clients into the classroom, putting together custom teams from different majors that can approach those projects in real life terms, like real agency approach. That can be a myriad of different types of projects and all that. And the output, of course, sometimes comes to fruition, sometimes is just a test and maybe doesn't see the light of day. We didn't know, honestly, what the turnout would be for this particular project. There's so many people involved, city requirements, permitting, scope, budget, of course, FIFA's feedback and allowance. And so we went through this pretty far not honestly knowing if we were going to get any physical items that came from this, or if it's just going to be a learning opportunity.
Mhm.
But it was probably the last 6 or 7 weeks where, the city gave us full approval. We got the budget really figured out, and behind the scenes and behind closed doors, we got really excited about what this could turn into. I feel for the students, maybe they still don't know how awesome this is for them. They're in a world that is in the classroom, that is navigating lots of things at different times, working with their friends, a little bit sheltered because they're young. But I know this is going to be something 10, 20, 30 years ago. We always talk about the Olympics in Atlanta, and that's still something from our community of designers that group is still talking about. So no different for this group. So I'm just thrilled for what not only today and the next month of matches that they get to participate in, but 10, 15 years ago or in the future, they're going to play with this as well. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, when it comes to, you mentioned budgeting. I mean, what was the biggest thing that you've learned in this process about, you as a mentor slash professor?
Yeah.
The biggest thing that you've learned in this, because, in the Olympics, you deal with the IOC. With the city, you might deal with the city, you might deal with the state, depending on property. You're dealing with an international organization in Lausanne, Switzerland, that is all the way over there, and they're like the big dogs of this whole thing. What have you and the administration learned about an exercise like this that will help you in the future when you're knocking on the door again with something like this?
We did learn a lot, and I'd say part of those things is any opportunity that you take on for the first time, and this really was for the first time for almost everybody involved, both on the client side and on SCAD side, as far as something so prolific and huge with FIFA being involved. So adaptability, knowing that any decisions being made could change at any time, and it's not due to anybody's personal taste. Often it's just due to requirements, needs, and that sort of thing. We did find a partner in a vendor that actually was going to, they created all the material for us, right? They have experience with that. For us, getting involved with them at an earlier page would have sort of made certain things a little bit smoother, because we would have known what's possible and what's not possible in that way. But I've been through the run for a long time in these unknowns, and I actually think that's part of the joy of it all, in just exploring things and then pivoting and turning and trying and all that. That's kind of the joy of what we get to take on.
When it comes to all of the recyclable materials that you guys have gone through to create all this stuff, how big a stack are we talking here? How many different iterations of ideas did you have? Because, early on, say with Atlanta in 1996, when it came to logos and such, we had the circle with the 5 A's.
Yeah.
And that was like the first thing that anyone could attach themselves to when it came to Atlanta in 96. And then you had different versions of that. And then you had the integrations of the Olympic rings and all that kind of stuff. Did you guys settle on a design palette out of the blocks, or did you have to continue to be that adaptable and figure out, okay, now let's not do this, let's go over here? How many different versions of SCADpro 1.0 to all the stuff did you come up with?
I mean, every class was a new level of exploration. FIFA, they are our ultimate client indirectly through the host committee. And so they actually, this time around, if you've noticed that 26 logo that is everywhere and everywhere, that's not our creation. That's FIFA doing that. So that's true with all 16 cities that are hosting the World Cups these times. So part of what we learn as designers is what are the building blocks that we already need to work with. And we sometimes call it the playground. So there's certain colors, there's certain typography, there's certain requirements that FIFA has built before we even get involved. Now, some of those we, of course, as students, you want to test the boundaries on that. Like what is a hard rule and what's a flexible rule. And honestly, for me, I usually work with, this is pretty rigid, but part of the charm of bringing students in is they're gonna test the boundaries. So it is gonna be more rounds, it's gonna be more iterations. Sometimes you might see it as time spent unnecessarily, But for the students, that's great because they're young and they're going to push boundaries. And of course, the things that they're interested in and excited about is what the host committee wanted to bring to Atlanta, because that's what's going on right now, right? That's how we can kind of push those boundaries. So if you put numbers to it, like we had to calculate the number of students that got involved in this, the number of rounds, that's going to take the rest of the summer for us to start to build those blocks.
I mean, I didn't mean to get us into calculus to do derivatives and stuff like this morning. So just so everybody knows, when they are in that final mile of getting to, look, right, for us, it's Mercedes-Benz Stadium until we get in the venue. Then we say it's Atlanta Stadium, and there you go.
Yeah.
For those that are walking to Atlanta Stadium, for those that are making their way into Atlanta Stadium, just so they have a knowledge base about everything that you've worked on, what are people going to sit there and recognize and go, oh, yeah, that's what SCAD did? What are folks going to be seeing that was part of this project?
So we did a lot of different work, from murals to sculptural events, and then of course the wayfinding, which is what we're talking about today. So with the wayfinding, there's 3 different types of signs. There's something called ground graphics. So when you're out, coming to Peachtree, there's less people around, so we put things on the ground, and that will kind of give you directions, whether you're going to the Fan Fest, whether you're going to the stadium, whether you need to stop by a hotel, that kind of thing. So you're going to see that on the ground. And then as you get a little bit closer, we have what we're calling flags. So there's something when the crowds get a little bit busier, you can't put stuff on the ground. You need to have it in the air. So that's kind of a second stage. And that, again, will navigate you to the things that you want to participate in. And then the part that I'm most excited about is these towers. And those are kind of those key moments where maybe you're just wrapped up at the Fan Fest and now you're kind of figuring out you want to get a bite to eat, or maybe it's time to go to the stadium. So those are what I call decision moments, where you get to kind of pause and stand and check it out. And we give you a lot more options on the things that you might want to participate in. But that's the part that we had fun with, because it's partly wayfinding, partly directional. But that's the area where we got to have that engagement component involved a little bit more. So when the host committee reached out to us, they wanted us to engage these 300,000 plus visitors and get them involved and get them to know Atlanta a little bit. And that was a bit of a struggle. Like, what do we want to educate people about? It needs to be about soccer. It needs to be about Atlanta. And we kind of came back full circle to, we wanted to find people from Atlanta where soccer has really impacted their lives in some way or another. Instead of landmarks, instead of the things that I think sometimes cities traditionally celebrate, we want to bring it right back to the people. So if you see these towers, they're about 8 feet tall, a couple of feet squared, and you'll see them scattered around Fan Fest, around the stadium. A couple of sides is the directional wayfinding. So that's the clarity, right? Getting you to the places you need to be. But then there's also images of local people from Atlanta, from different walks of life, that soccer has really impacted their worlds, whether they're the mom that has sort of spent their days at soccer camps, the grandmother that gets to participate and is a diehard Atlanta United fan, or the kids that are playing now. So you'll get a mix. They're all people from Atlanta that we found and we're able to do photo shoots with and video shoots. Got some quotes from them, and there's even an augmented reality component, so you can kind of hover your phone over it. There's a little QR code, and you kind of get to know a little bit more of them. They come to life, and I don't know. That's the engaging part. So that actually was a lot of fun.
When the tournament is over, do you get to keep any of those things in the office, or do you get to take them home and put them in your man cave? What happens to the towers? What happens to the templates? What happens to the flags when this tournament is over? You're going to take some of it home?
Well, we will definitely invite all the participants that we did photographs of. That was all volunteer work, right? We're doing it. We're grassroots in a lot of what we're doing. So we'll certainly let them come out and grab their 8-foot sort of full body photos of who they have, and they can have that in their own man caves. I'll keep some. You haven't seen the size of my office. It's about the size of yours. So I might be able to put 1 or 2 things in there, but that's probably going to be my limit.
See, there you go. But then what you do is you enlist the aid of others. Hey, I need you to stash this. I need you to put this in your office. I need you to help me out here. We need to preserve what we did for the World Cup. I need this to go into your office. My office doesn't have all the space it used to. You're not mentioning
Mhm.
anything about man cave at home. My
Yeah.
office can't handle this. Can you handle this and put this so this way you keep track of all of these things and you know that they're going to have good homes and they're going to stay the right colors and everything when it comes to the tournament being over.
Well, they will, like, if you ever go to Atlanta History Center, they have a whole, scope on the '96 Olympics,
Yep.
and so my hopes are, we can get them some of these items so
There
that
you
they can be
go.
preserved. They do have the space to hold things, so, yeah, that would be wonderful. All these little bits and pieces that, right now you're walking right past and you're in the moment, but,
Mhm.
yeah, I think 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's gonna be, not just for us and for SCAD, of course, anybody that's been involved, just what was going on at that time, how do we handle it? How did we do as a city, and how did it sort of put us on a world stage in a successful way?
Did you go out day one and take a walk inside that last mile yourself just to kind of see everything as it was going to be presented to the world? Did you take that walk yet?
I have walked the last mile probably 100 times at this point, and that's leading up. When the weather was cold, we were out there in the winter, sort of navigating and trying to figure out what are people going to be doing where they're wearing shorts and sweating and like loud music while we're all frigid and nobody was out there because they actually had closed the stadium events. There was no events for a couple of months because they were prepping for the World Cup. So we started that and now we're navigating it just to make sure the signs are in place and in good shape and nobody's drawing them and all that kind of thing. So I'm out there all the time, and of course, now that it's going on, it's fantastic. It's amazing. Just the energy going on is wonderful.
You sit there and poke at somebody with a Sharpie, sit there and go, "No, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to touch that tower."
Hey, you know what? I see it as a compliment. Anybody engaging with any way, I think that's a cool thing because it just shows they're participating, which is cool.
Uh, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I know that this will now give everyone the opportunity to sit there and understand the background. It's like a Paul Harvey moment. It's like, and now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so when they're going and they see the towers and everything else, they know the origin story when it comes to everything there at SCAD. Associate Chair of Graphic Design, Sam Eckersley. I can't thank you enough for doing this. And thanks for the explainer. And like I said, we cover you when it comes to what goes on during soccer season on the field with SCAD and the all the runs to the titles and stuff. We know that part, but it was good to catch up with you about this part. Do you need a note to get back into class or are you okay?
I get my day off today. I'm going to wander down to the last mile and check things out. So, John, I appreciate your time. Good meeting you. And yeah, thanks for everything you do.
All right. Be safe, my friend. We'll see you down there.